Hey team, are we live? Are we live? You never know. Such a pain in the ass. How are you today, guys? I would love to hear. What have you been up to? What is a win? What are you celebrating today? Like, let me know. What are you celebrating today? Um, Beautiful. Awesome. We already have a few beautiful faces in here, so let's kick start. Welcome along, team. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is going to be hopefully not too depressing, but helpful, very helpful. I hope that my experiences and my life, because when I notice that when I share a lot of the things that I've been through personally, a lot of people can resonate with that. And what happens when people resonate is you are able to make more conscious choices that are in alignment with your goals because you now start believing that you can also do this too. And so I really, really wanted to just get raw and honest and just share with you my journey, my personal journey, from absolutely loathing my body, absolutely hating myself, to where I am now, which is very content, very happy. And I'm going to tell you, it's not because I've suddenly gained muscle, okay? So I would love to share what's going on with you guys. I'm going to just open up my phone and have a look over here. I'm going to set this up over here just in case anyone wanted to drop by, any comments in the chat. But if anything resonates with you, team, if anyone's watching this and it resonates with you, please just drop in the chat and say, yeah, I resonate, I understand, because I want other people to recognize that they are not alone. And also it would be nice to know that it's not just me experiencing this. So, I mean, I know so many of you struggle with self-confidence, self-love, and trusting yourself. And I really want to be just completely raw and honest about my own journey. So if you've ever felt like you'll never love your body, never trust yourself around food, maybe never feel truly confident, you're really not alone. And a lot of women will speak to me thinking, oh, she's got her shit together. Oh, it's okay for her. But I'm going to tell you, ladies, now, it has not been plain sailing. At the end of this video training, or account or whatever you want to call it, by the end of this session, I really want you to leave with a new way of thinking about your body, about your self-worth, about your confidence, about your choices. So I'm going to tell you the exact framework, the step-by-step guide that I used to shift my mindset from hating my body to loving my body. Okay, so you want to make sure that you stick around, but I want to just give you some context first because there's no point me just going in and telling you how I changed it. Because when I give people tools, and this happens with clients as well, when I give clients tools, they don't recognize that I've had to go through that and go through it. So when it gets tough, when it gets hard, your brain's going to start telling you, oh, well, she's different. She hasn't experienced what I've experienced. Her cravings aren't as hard as mine, or her trauma isn't as big as mine. And so it's very easy for our brain to get on the defense when we don't actually know much about the other person or a bit of a background on how useful these tools are. So there's no point me giving you the framework and just giving you a 5-minute video. Really, really is important for me to kind of explain why I needed to utilize these tools. Now, don't get me wrong, I've used so many tools. There are so many experts out there that are probably more than qualified to talk about this than I am. But I wanted to share with you my account that worked for me and that is also working for my clients to help shift their mindset. Now, one thing about coaching, and I want to take a quote from one of my clients in a second, is that coaching focuses on progress, not the past. So a lot of clients will say, I literally had a client today saying, oh my God, you're like my therapist, right? And that's not to take away from any therapists in here, but a lot of therapists will focus on the root problem, trying to fix it. Whereas with coaching, we look at the root problem and then look at how we can progress straight away. So we can say, okay, that shit happened, but how are we going to fix that moving forward? And one of my clients once said to me that in just a few sessions, um, she had received more progress in just a few sessions than she had with decades worth of therapy. So this stuff really does work, right? It really does work. It's not all woo-woo. And it really does just depend on how much you follow it, on whether you're going to stick to it or not. So let's just kind of like take it back from when I was really young, right? As young as I remember being, I never believed that I was pretty. I never believed that I was beautiful. I never believed that I was worthy or that I was enough. And from all of the journaling that I've done in the past, all of the journaling, I still don't know where it initially came from, which is really interesting because a lot of the time we kind of know in our subconscious. Maybe I just haven't had someone to ask me the questions, right? But yeah, since I was really, really young, I just never believed I was pretty. I was a bit of a chunky child growing up. My mum didn't know how to deal with a baby, so every time I cried, she would feed me. So from very young, I developed a wonderful habit of soothing my emotions with food, regardless whether that was loneliness, boredom, or whatever it is. My mum would just give me a bottle and shut me up. So I ate a lot as a kid, as a child. You know, I wasn't obese, but I wasn't thin. And from very, very young, my auntie would grab my legs and call me lamb chops. And I know that that was an affectionate term that she believed was affectionate, but as a young child, that shit kind of sort of sticks with you. And so I was blonde and I was cute looking back, but I never believed that I was anything. I never believed that I was pretty or thin or anything like that. And then I get into school and I was pretty much like the outcast. I was very much the outcast through all of my school. I got bullied in high school by who I thought were my friends, and pretty much left to just float around between different groups. Never fit in. There was never people that I just gelled with. Like me and my partner now, like when we first met, we just gelled, right? With friends that I've met, we've just gelled. With people that I've met raving, we've just gelled. So I know that there are people out there that I've just gelled with, but never when I was in school. And so that definitely led to really solidifying the fact that I don't belong and that I'm not enough and that I'm not worthy of friendship or love or acceptance or community. And that's something that I've come to realize, and I'll tell you how I kind of realized that later. But my like growing up in school and then in college, it was very, very similar, where I was kind of bouncing around between friendship groups. When I was in year nine, a friend of mine who I'd been separated from through school welcomed me into her group. But again, like I came in, but I didn't feel like I fit in. There was just this belief in me that you don't belong and that a friendship just will happen naturally. And so my lack of self-worth growing up, I didn't believe that that I actually had a place in anywhere. And like looking back at sorry, just looking back on my bring childhood and my school and early years of college, it was very lonely. It was very lonely. And so that just created this like really deep sense uh, of isolation, even though I was around people. Um, and going back, even when I was a kid, I was very isolated. My mum would just chuck me in front of the TV with a family pack of chocolate bars because again, that's how you see to a kid, right? So all of that just intensified and intensified, and my lack of self-worth broke apart my last relationship. I just never believed I could do anything or be anyone important. I never believed, and this is like in the last 5 years, right? I never believed that I could mount up to do anything. So what was then happening is my actions that I was taking was very much self-absorbed, almost like because I didn't believe that I had an ability to do anything with anyone. So I just stayed within myself. Anyway, that pretty much broke apart my last relationships. And I'll share some like internal dialogue that I used to have, right? I would always say to myself, I'm not good enough. I'll never lose weight. I'll never be skinny. I'll never be slim. I'll always have this like belly pooch and thick legs. I'll never keep it off. I don't have the willpower or discipline to change. I've I used to say I'm too old or too far gone to start now because I always thought that you had to like be skinny from like birth or from a child, right? So when I'm like in my 20s, late 20s, I just thought, oh well, it's way too late to start now. And that's late 20s. I mean, looking at that in hindsight, it's ridiculous. I always used to say to myself, well, I will never be as confident as her, right? I had comparisonitis, like severe case of comparisonitis. I'd never be as confident as her. I'm always going to mess things up. Why even bother trying? I hate my body. Nothing looks good on me. So I from really young, I recognized that I could suck my belly in. So I could stand in front and it would look fine, but then when I stand on the side, it was always like a pooch because, we have ovaries and whatnot that we need to fit inside us, right? So I would always suck it in and breathe it in and try and have that beautiful flat stomach. And I would look at other people and go, oh my God, they have that flat stomach. I think that's beautiful. And I would always compare myself to them. And I would always suck my stomach in. And I think because of that, I've basically had abs for a very long time when I suck my stomach in because I've like always brought that in. So I've always contracted them. But even then, even when I had abs, I thought I was fat. I thought I was chunky. I thought that I had fat in places that I shouldn't have it. I used to tell myself that I don't deserve anything. I don't deserve to put myself first. I'll probably fail if I do anything. And if I take care of myself, people are going to see me as selfish. So not only did this break up my last relationships, it of course impacted my confidence. Um, Always ate junk food. I actually put a post out on Facebook today, but I always ate junk food to numb the pain, to soothe the pain. And it's no wonder why, because I was brought up as a baby. My reassurance from a baby to childhood was with food, right? So I just have or had this really deeply ingrained association with emotion. Like, don't express your emotion, just eat. Don't express your emotion, just eat. So I had a really bad relationship with food, really bad. And I'm still healing that to this day, and that's okay. Health really impacted, and my business really impacted because I wanted to do this. I wanted to be a health coach. I wanted to help other people, but who was I to help other people when I hadn't had my own shit sorted? Right? So, yeah, I started as a health coach because I needed to get my shit together. I studied through Health Coach Institute because I not because I wanted a new career, but because I wanted to sort my life out. And I thought that studying it was probably cheaper. I don't think it was cheaper. Actually, it definitely wasn't um, than getting a coach myself. So maybe even I intrinsically didn't believe that I could change, and so that I would just teach instead, but learn a little bit of the information along the way. So I was always stuck in this like cycle of dieting, feeling guilty, overeating, starving myself. I would drink a lot of alcohol. I would then starve myself the next day because I felt bad. I'd feel so hungry that I would then overeat like the next day. Constant cycle. Guilt, frustration, anger, resentment, and of course, underlying that was no confidence, um, and no self-esteem. I would even go so far to say is when I was in my 20s, I kind of went on a rampage and I had no self-worth, no to low self-worth, and just kind of let myself go out there, and that is really dangerous for a woman, really dangerous. And this is like something that I've never spoken about before, but I just like my self-worth was so low that I didn't believe that if anything ever happened to me, that anyone would care, to be quite frankly honest with you. So, yeah, I told you I was going to be raw. I told you I was going to be honest. I had some notes on what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't know how it was going to come across. So, let me know if any of this is resonating for you so far in the chat. I would love to hear if anyone's had any similar experiences, or I mean, I know that typically most women would feel some of these. So please just drop in the chat. Are you a woman and have you experienced any of this? Because I would love to see the comments list like 50, 60 people long with the almost like a hashtag me too kind of thing. Um, Hiya everyone who's watching. Thank you for being so brave and generous and sharing yourself and your vulnerability. Oh my goodness. Honestly, I believe I've got nothing to hide anymore. Doing this and working with so many women, it's just insane how so many women feel so isolated by their own feelings and thinking that they're the only one that feels all of the things that I've mentioned today, like myself included. And because we feel like we're the only ones, we just drive ourselves crazy because we just believe that it's just me. I'm the one that lacks confidence. No, everyone does in their own bubble, but we don't burst out of that bubble. And so I feel compelled to share my story and share this vulnerability with you ladies. And I mean, we're inside a closed group, right? There's a level of family, a level of trust because you're inside here. I talk to a lot of you quite regularly. Jerry resonating, here we go. Yeah, awesome. So I just think it's really important to share that not everyone, um, you're not alone, basically. Katie, you're literally the best, and oh, and you've enriched my life over the last year. So much love for you always. Katie, you're so adorable. Sarah, hey Sarah, I've just joined and not sure what you just shared, but felt it, so sending love. Us women need to speak up more and support one another. Thank you. Yeah, you're most welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, absolutely. So, I wanted to share that I didn't just wake up with this like resounding confidence in myself. I didn't just wake up with confidence that I was going to follow through on my promises, with confidence that I was going to keep the weight off, with confidence that I was going to build muscle every single day, right? I didn't just wake up with confidence that I was going to nail my cravings every single day. This shit, it takes time to build up. People look at me and say, "Oh yeah, it's okay for you to say, just change your thoughts," like, but you're not experiencing this. And I'm here to say I have experienced that. As a woman who has an audience in this Facebook group of like 1.3 thousand people, and I have a social media presence. I feel like it is my duty to show you that I have had to experience this before, right? Instead of just being this, I see a lot of influencers being this like perfect idealized person who's never experienced anything before. And they just say, oh, yeah, I've experienced this before, but they never really talk about their experiences. So that's why I really wanted to share this with you to show you that I have experienced and felt so deeply and rawly and cried. Like, I don't know how many years of my life I have spent crying because of my low self-worth. I'm going to tell you that now. When I was a kid, I tried to journal and like write in my diary, dear diary, about this and that. And if I was to pull out diaries from child to teenagehood, I would say 80% of it was about how much I disliked myself. And when you think about a kid, a young woman at that age, it's quite shocking. It's quite shocking. So yeah, I didn't just wake up one day with all of this confidence, with the knowledge, with the willpower, right? With the positive self-talk. I had to build it up. So what did I have to, how did I build that up? How did I get here? There was a turning point a couple of years ago, a realization that I am in full control of everything I choose to believe about myself. I want you all to write that down now, whether you're on replay or live. I have full control over everything I choose to believe about myself. One day, it just clicked in my brain. Everything I believe about myself, I choose. So that means that sometimes my brain can be wrong. My brain's not always right as much as we like to believe that it's always right. And when that sunk in, I made a decision that enough is enough. You would actually see if you went back on my Facebook feed, if you liked every post along the way, that'd be great. But if you went back on my news feed a couple of years ago, I wrote a post about it on Facebook, and I wrote something about like just had this sudden realization that the only way that I'm going to change is if I change the way that I feel about myself and think about myself. And I actually wrote it out, like it happened that day, and I wrote a post about it. And so there was literally a day where it just clicked, this turning point, a realization that I get to choose everything that I believe about myself. There are facts and there are opinions, and everything that I am believing negatively, everything that's making me cry or doubt myself or giving me this low self-worth, they're all just beliefs. It's not the truth. How do I know it's not the truth? Because my partner didn't believe those things. Because if I was supposed to say that, if I was going to say these things to my family, they would say, no, that's not true. So if someone really can have that much of an opposing belief about it, then maybe my brain might be wrong. And why do I keep perpetuating this negative emotional state when I can just be that positive person? The biggest misconception that I had was that I thought I had to be disciplined or just try harder, but that really wasn't it, right? I didn't have to be disciplined in like eating healthy and going to the gym all the time, or trying harder to then believe that my body is good and it's sexy and it's fit. I had to work on it. So here is like pretty much the main things that changed for me. So first and foremost, is probably not going to come as a surprise to say that I had to be healthy, not just believe I was healthy, right? I had to embody health because let's face it, science has proven that depression starts from the gut, right? If we have a poorly gut, we are more likely to have depression. So I had to make sure that from the inside out, I was healthy. If I was going to start and embark on this journey of changing my mindset, I had to be healthy, not just believe I was healthy. So I had to look at my nutrition. I had to look at my movement, look at my hydration, and look at my sleep, look at my stress management, like all of the things that I go into full depth with my clients in a 6 month program, I had to make sure that I was on top of those. And I don't mean that I had to overhaul my entire life. I just meant tweaking little things to make sure that I was healthy. I don't mean healthy like an athlete. I meant just healthier. So the first step was just to embody healthy, right? That's kind of like, I guess, like a little bit of a no-brainer for most people is yes, of course, we need to be healthy physically. The next step was that I had to journal a lot. I had to write a lot. And I've brought this along with me. Okay. So this, I actually basically cried to my partner the other week, because I said that this was my most recent journal, right? And it's almost done to the back. There's just a couple of pages at the back. But if you look through here, if I just flicked through, there is like so much inside there that I have worked on myself. This is There is a difference between this journal and my last journal before that. My last journal before that was all negative. This is using my framework, basically, and changing the way that I believe about the things that I believe and the things that I say about myself, and going in and strategically working through all of the negative self thoughts, like, you know, my lack of confidence, my lack of self-esteem, my lack of worth, my beauty, inside, outside, my personality traits, right? I went through every single thing that I disliked about myself and changed it. I'm not telling you that I am a completely like totally confident. I don't have any flaws. I'm not saying that, but this was the turning point. And I think I'm going to keep this journal forever because this is the first journal that just embodies my change. And I'm not going to read a journal prompt now, absolutely not. But in that journal is where everything changed. And this is what I'm sharing with you today. First of all, I had to journal a lot, as you can see. I had to write down all of the shit that I believed about myself, and it was hard. All of the stuff that has happened to me, and that was hard. But here's one thing that I want you to write down right now. I mentioned it, I think, Jerry, if you're still watching, I mentioned it to you today, actually. You gave me fuel. You helped me think of this. The pain of reliving by journaling is not the same pain as experiencing it firsthand. Okay? A lot of people have trauma, horrible experiences, but they need to work through it. And if you resist or struggle with trauma, if you struggle with past experiences, if you struggle with self-doubt, self-worth, things like that, negative body image, if you believe those and you write down what you think the main like trigger was for that, it is not going to be as painful as experiencing it firsthand. But your brain doesn't recognize that the pain is different. It just thinks writing about it is reliving it, which is the same pain. It's like black or white, right? Your brain probably thinks, if you've got resistance to journaling, that the pain is the same. So, of course, your brain's going to be like, I'm not putting you through that again, girl. Like, absolutely not. I'm not going to put you through that. So, what is it going to do? It's going to create resistance to change. It's going to create a resistance to write it out. If you have a resistance to journaling, you have to remind yourself that writing it out is never as painful as the first-hand experience. And I'm going to tell you now, I had a client, we worked through the resistance to journaling because she didn't want to revisit the traumatic experience that she had as a 20-year-old. And she'd resisted for years to write about it, to talk about it, but it was stopping her from moving forward. Just point blank, it was stopping her. And she reassured herself that it wasn't the same pain. And when she wrote it down, she came to me and she said, Bianca, it was so cathartic. It was not the same pain I was experiencing. I was like expecting all of this pain and resentment. And yes, some came up, but it was nowhere near as the first-hand experience. So you must remind yourself of that. If you struggle to journal, struggle to write about something, that's okay, but you need to start working through it. Anyway, so last few years I've been journaling a lot, writing about all of the things that I dislike in myself, writing about all of the personality traits that I dislike, writing about all of my negative experiences. And I had to start distinguishing the bullshit lies I believed that were true versus the actual truth. So this is one way that I help my clients to shift their negative thinking is by noticing what the thought is. So the thought, for example, let's just work through a thought, right? The thought is, I am not enough. I'm never going to be enough. So that was the thought. So then we had to just kind of go through and distinguish, like extinguish. extinguish the fire. I think that's the right word. And just put out the fire. And the fire is like the thoughts, right? We have to put out the fire and see what's underneath. Like, what is the actual truth of what's going on? You believe that you're enough. Well, the truth of it is you're a human being. You are enough, right? The truth of it is you weigh 64 kg. The truth of it is you have blonde hair, right? So you have to really, really strip away all of the thoughts, the opinions, anything that could be just the opinion, right? You have to take all of that away and look at the actual truth. So I separated all the bullshit lies, all the bullshit thoughts from the truth. Then once I figured out the truth, I could then build onto it a new thought. So I figured out all the truths to all of my negative thinking. And then I went in one by one, systematically changing the thoughts. I went in one by one, looking at the pure facts of what I thought and creating a new belief. In doing so, my confidence was able to improve. I started recognizing that I was enough. I started believing that I could mount up to be someone. I started believing that I could be an influence to a few people. I started changing the way that I believed about, like everything that I believed about myself from just working through that strategy, right? Confidence isn't something that you're born with, it's something that you build. I thought confidence would come when I had the perfect body, when I reached my goals. I'll be happy when, famous quotes. That wasn't true. I built a body. I was still healthy, but a lot of the mental stuff needed to change. I needed to build a healthy foundation in order for me to focus on my mental health, right? Physical, fix your physical shit, then fix your mental shit, then fix your emotional shit. They are literally the three phases of my 6-month client program, right? Fix the physical, fix the mental, fix the emotional. They're the phases of change. So I fixed my physical and then I need to fix my mental. So I went in and strategically changed, unpicked, stripped down, and rebuilt every single thought. Now I eat whole food plant-based. I'd say about 80 to 20. 80% of my diet is whole food, 20% is not. So I've got healthy foundations. I move every day. I manage my stress in ways that work for me. I'm always looking at my sleep, although as if you've seen my stories today, you'll know that I didn't get a good enough sleep. I build a healthy foundation, right? Beforehand, there was no healthy foundation there. I didn't even know what healthy meant. Now, anytime there's something that I dislike about myself, a negative thought that comes up, negative opinion that comes up, I will write it down and I will strip it back. I will make sure that I can see the facts of the situation, and then I create a new thought around it, right? 1, 2, 3. That's how I change it. So I don't let things get me down. You can do this for things that get you down. So, for example, if your husband triggers you or your boss triggers you, use the same structure. Write down what your thought was, write down what the facts are, and rebuild it. What's a different thought to have? Rebuild it. So here are my main, actually, before I give you my main takeaways, Sarah, no one sees the journey, only the results, which is why it's our duty as survivors to change our journey and how we're enduring the ride. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, and I totally agree. Sarah, I've got to go, but we'll rewatch this later. Awesome. Can I like, no. Oh, I'll like your response there, so you can come back to that and get a notification. Jennifer, welcome. Jerry, still hurts though. Yeah, it still hurts, but it's not anywhere near the initial pain. Um, Okay, so my main takeaways is confidence is built but not given. Self-love is how you treat yourself, not just how you feel. So all of what I have shared today is built on healthy habits and healthy thoughts, right? Physical, mental. These are just two, as I mentioned, of the four phases of change, which are the bones, the structure, the foundation of my 6 months coaching program. But if you want a taste of coaching, you're not ready to invest, I totally get it. I totally get it, right? It's a lot of money and a lot of time and some effort to put into change. I get it. If you're not ready to invest, then just start with a small step. Start with a small step now. We've got boot camp starting next week. That is a very small commitment, very tiny commitment. There's no fee. It's free. It's just a little bit of time, right? And from as early as day one, you'll walk away with a completely different outlook and mindset. That is primed, by the way, primed to make losing weight easy and doable one last time. Not this year, and then you do it again next year, and then again the next year, or not for now, before summer, and then winter comes around, and then we put on winter weight. I mean, losing it and keeping it off. I appreciate you for being here. If you've watched through to the end of this video, Jerry, I know you're here. Thank you so much for being with me. Need to remember there isn't a time frame to heal. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And ready when you are ready. Thank you so much, team, for being here. If you would like to take that small step, just comment the word bootcamp and I will get you enrolled or send you the information, whatever step that you need first. And yeah, we start next week. If you're watching this after enrollment closes, still message me bootcamp and I'll see if we've got any upcoming trainings for you that might be applicable for you. So sending you lots of love. Take care, team, and I will see you soon. Bye.